Let's take ourselves now to the aspect of still in Benin City. Well, let's talk about the problem that is just emanating there. It's been there for a very long time. It was suppressed and it's coming back again. That is the issue of security, right? Since the current government assumed office, the problem of security has escalated almost out of control. No one is safe. How do you think this is affecting the possible investments and development of Edo State?
I mean, it's just not a problem for Edo State alone. I mean, this is a big problem for the entire country, right? So it has also now started to attract international attention.
Yes,
right?
it does.
President Trump himself has tweeted about it. And there are other foreign governments also have had one comment or the other about it. So let us also not pretend that all is well. I mean, we're all Nigerians, so we know what is going on, right? So why is it not difficult for an average Nigerian just to be able to make a journey from one place to the other in Nigeria, even as short as a journey of just only 5 miles, 5 miles or 5 kilometers?
Yeah.
Why is it not impossible? So the security challenges in Nigeria is actually, to be honest, is really getting out of hand. So it is probably maybe time for Nigeria as a country to take a holistic look at it and look at possibility of asking for help. Maybe external help. I mean, Jonathan tried it. He brought in foreign mercenaries, and we all know what happened at that time. Many, terrorists that were killed, some were captured. But as I always say, you can't wipe out terrorism just by the use of force alone. There is no military strong enough in the entire world, the entire universe, that can actually wipe out terrorism.
Like cancer.
Very, very difficult, because it's also somehow a cultural thing, right? Has connection with religion, has connection with people way of life, have connection with the way people are wired, the way they think and all that. So you have to not just only use force, which is necessary at this point, because you have to ensure that there's security and order, but you also have to use other kind of incentives as well, such as education and infrastructural development. Education and infrastructural development are the biggest weapon to fight terrorism, because what does it do? It changes the way people are wired, people think.
I do have a
so probably maybe on a longer term.
I do have a question there.
Yeah.
How are the international communities, international countries, are able to eradicate terrorism or religious terrorism from their country? Because we're talking about how it is affecting mostly Africa and Middle East. How are these Western countries able to remove it from their society? We live in the UK here. We don't hear people strapping up and going to the public domain regularly, exploding themselves and trying to cause chaos and kidnapping people in mass in schools and everywhere, and then threatening to massacre them for whatever reason. We don't hear this in developed countries. Why is it in the developing countries?
So I mean, the answer is in the same area that we've been actually talking about. For example, the level of maturity of their infrastructure is far ahead of what you have in Africa or other part of the world that you were talking about, right? So which means when it comes to crime detection, they have the better capability to be able to deal with it. So their response time, the information gathering capability and things like that are much more robust and more mature than we have in those other countries. So I'm not saying that they also don't have their own share of the problem, but you also have to look at their educational program. No one in England is an amajiri on the street.
But there are a lot of homeless now.
Yeah. So, but you don't have the abandoned child system where it's in this country. It is compulsory. Every child up to the age of 16 must be in school. If a child is not in school today, the parents will get a phone call, and the government will follow up. It will become a social or a community issue, and they will make sure that they get to the bottom of why is this child not at school. So, do we have those type of programs in countries like in Nigeria? Not probably, maybe not to a lesser degree, not as effective as you have it here.
Okay.
Right? So our educational system, our policing system, our infrastructure, level of our infrastructural development, they all still lag behind in terms of being able to, address societal issues, right? So all these things are designed, whether you talk about your educational system or social programs or your policing system, they are all designed to bring harmony to the society. And unfortunately, we don't have that level of sophistication in all those areas that I mentioned.
Yeah, but
that's one side of it. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it, when you don't really have it here, is that what we have seen with terrorism, if you look at the historical development of terrorism, the way that the mobility, let's call it now, the global mobility of terrorism, you will see that they are usually always looking for softer spots. They are looking for countries where they can, they can easily establish their own rule, or force their own rule down our throat. So Africa is now, you could say, a front line of terrorism.
Yeah, but it's not that they've not tried it in foreign countries.
Yeah.
America, Boston, attack in UK here. There have been attacks here.
Yeah.
But every time they try it, the Western government don't just attack those pawns and go back home.
No.
They go after their figurehead every time.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
Okay, so now that I'm sure that is part of what have made them to pull back from trying to attack international. Like Osama bin Laden, he did his bit. He thought he was just going to hide.
Yeah,
they dug into his home.
Yeah.
No, he didn't even know that his spies were amongst. They dug into his home. They killed him in his home. A lot of his people died in the process. But in Nigeria,
I agree with you. I think what we also need to take a look at a little bit is to look at the characteristics of urban terrorism and how that manifests itself in terms of their philosophy and in terms of the goals and objectives that they have, right? So you could easily, for example, see what the whole motivation is. If, for example, you want to probably maybe go to 9/11 or look at other type of terrorists strike around the world in developed countries, you can easily tell what the motivations are. But in a case like in Nigeria, how many people actually know what they are fighting for?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Let's take it to Edo State, for example.
Yes.
Adoption, kidnapping. Yeah, that is not even religious.
Yeah. So those are economic problems, right? So as I always say, that culture cannot be cleanly separated from, economics cannot be cleanly separated from culture, right? So when you have economic backwardness, where, for example, you can't get by your living wage, right? No one in Nigeria can get by with a living wage. Low wages, high galloping inflation, control cost of living. So people have to make ends meet. People have to be able to provide for themselves. So now that kidnapping has now been seen for many of them as an easy and quick and easy lucrative way for them to make money and for them to make ends meet for themselves and their family. So it's becoming a big societal problem.
But do you think that the generational change is contributing to this? there have always been a problem with the cost of living in Nigeria compared to the stipend of remuneration. Yeah, but now we have people who've never worked in their entire life, not willing to apply for a job, not willing to be employed or get a wage, not willing to do any of that. They grow up, the first thing they want to do is, how do I get rich? And then they join themselves into some group, or at least we're talking about Yahoo scam that is not killing people, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's killing people softly, but not killing people, taking a gun and shooting them. That is not the purpose of it. But the issue of adoption, kidnapping, even sometimes killing your victims, I think this is the next level. And since Monday Okpebholo became the governor, this has increased because I think he disbanded the vigilante group that was helping in Edo State to curb this atrocity.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think, how do you think we can turn around Edo State and make it a safer place? Because if there is proper security in the state, the government will be able to attract investors when they know they are safe with their money. So how do you think we can turn things around, particularly in Edo State? Let's use that as the point of discussion.
Yes, what I know is that Governor Obaseki actually built a command and control center, right? That was driven by technology, where they could isolate any part of the state and be able to stay focused and be able to monitor what is going on in that state. I understand now that that command and control center is actually not there anymore. It's not being funded. So many of us don't really quite understand why Governor Okpebholo is not just only trying to distance himself away from Obaseki's legacy, but also they're trying to
destroy.
The word destroy is probably maybe not the fit word to use in this context, but also actively not just discontinuing some of the program and projects that Obaseki did in the past, some of them which are positive, great, like the GIS, and I understand now that the GIS also just doesn't function anymore. So what is his motivation for that? Why is he trying to, as much as possible, we know that you want to, eclipse, Obaseki's legacy or whatever it is that Obaseki built. But not about the projects that were built for the growth, development and progress of the state. So why does he have problem with it? So is it a capacity problem that he is not able to see the benefit of those projects, or does not have the capacity to continue with them? So that's something that's not also quite clear to me why. So yes, you are right. Those are contributing factors as well, right? So, but I have to say with a caveat that I don't think going the vigilante way is also the solution to things, because we don't know of any country in the world where that kind of particular type of model works. If you look at a country like Haiti, for example, where they have vigilante group in almost every 5 kilometers, the homicide rate in Haiti on a per capita basis is the highest in the world. The number of people that are being killed on a daily basis on the streets of Haiti. So going the vigilante way is not really quite it. Technology, probably that technology can help. Having a data-driven approach to policing, community policing, and as I've always said, just let us probably maybe look at just the South-South zone. So how integrated are we? So do we have a platform of integrating our security architecture as a region together? For example, a kidnapper is running away from Delta State, the next minute is operating in Edo State. So do we have the opportunity to share intelligence across states? Do we have collaboration between the policing or the security apparatus in Delta with Edo and Ondo? And do we have that kind of integration like that? So that's also something that I don't see. So, and as I have always said, we need to drive or we need to, push a bit more for regional integration.
Okay.
I think that probably maybe will help in a way, because you see someone who was on a wanted list for a very long time in Delta came to Edo, and I was operating in Edo. Kidnapped quite a lot of people, kidnapped Barrister Ogiehor and so many other prominent people in Edo. So we need those are all of the things that we need to look at. I think technology actually can play a role. So is the police adequately funded? The military deliberately underfunded the police because they didn't want the police to have the same capability as they have, so that policemen or police people could not be used to carry out coups. So the military regime deliberately underfunded the Nigerian police.
That was decades ago.
But the problem is that culture has continued. Yeah. So if the police is not well funded, right, and we don't actually have good programs in the police force that can bring people up to speed on new techniques, training, development. So if you don't have all those type of things going on, how are you going to be able to keep up? Because usually the criminals are always about 2 or 3 steps ahead.
They learn the new techniques, new technology to evade police.
Especially with the bipolar world that we have now, everyone have access to everything, so people can source information very quickly. So it's as you said, I don't think that it's just an Okbeulo problem or a Edo State problem alone. I think Nigeria as a country, I think we are actually really going through trying periods.
I agree. I only brought in Okbeulo because since I know under Obaseki there was adoption, but he was able to curb it using the police and all. But now it's just rearing the ugly head up again. Now that is bothersome.
Yes. Governor Okbeulo definitely need to sit up as far as that area is concerned.
Okay, thank you.